Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Memories of Plymouth, our Season 2. It's a Plymouth Historical Society project that we've been running for 2 years now, where folks in the area invite us in and we talk about their stories, their memories, the good old times, as many people would say. So welcome. The person I'd like to introduce you to today is Thelma Downing. Thelma, thank you very, very much for allowing me to come into your household today.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have a series of questions that we would like to ask of you. There are some people in the audience today that know you very well. There may be some people that have heard your name, and there may be a few folks that have never met you before. So these questions are to identify yourself a little bit. Number 1, would you state your complete name, your full name, including your married name?
Thelma May Hardy Downing.
And your middle name is May, M-A-Y?
M-A-Y, yes.
All right.
I was named long before May West came, not long before she came along, but that's where the M-A-E came in.
Oh, all right, all right. When were you born? Can you remember the year that you were born?
1924.
1924, so that makes you about?
It makes me exactly 94.
94 years old.
I was 94 March 5th.
March 5th, congratulations. And the name of your parents?
Celia and Earl Hardy.
Celia and Earl Hardy. Your husband's name, he's no longer living, am I correct?
No, he's been gone quite a while.
Quite a while.
His name was Leslie Downing.
Leslie Downing. And you have children?
Yes, I have a girl, Betty, in Nova Scotia, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. And I have a son that lives in Thornton.
And how old approximately are they?
How old are they?
Oh, I'm going to put you on the spot.
My son is 74. My daughter is 72 in May.
All right.
That's like we were talking one day at church, and they were talking about their children, and all at once someone said, "Do you have children?" I said, "Yes," and they said, "How old are they?" And I told them their ages, and they didn't believe me. It was funny, the look on their face, because their children was either babies or 2 or 3 years old or so, and I come out with their ages at that time.
Well, I guess your children could be grandparents to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, with their ages. Interesting. During your childhood, you had mentioned to me when we had chatted before, where are some of the places that you lived?
Well, I was born in Holderness. I was a home-born baby. I lived there. Then I lived in Plymouth for a while. And I kind of bounced back and forth between Holderness and Plymouth. And then my mom remarried and we moved to Holderness. I lived there until I was 16 years old.
Where in Holderness?
On Route 113 at the West Estate.
So it's north, going south on the Webster Estate?
Going towards Sandwich, yes.
Sandwich, all right. Did you tell me that you also lived on North River Street?
Yes, that's where I was born.
That's where you were born, at the very, very end of the street.
At the very end of North River Street.
All right, thank you. And where are you living now?
Right here.
That's a great answer. My question wasn't as good as I thought, huh? We're in Ashland right now, in an apartment complex.
Yes, on Highland Street.
On Highland Street. I apologize for that question. You shared at one point with me that you lived for quite a while with your grandmother.
Yes, I did. When I was big enough to walk around and talk and wasn't much trouble to take care of it. And I lived there until I was 12 and she passed away.
And why did you live with your grandmother versus your mom?
Well, because she wanted me and I wanted to be there.
All right, so there was a special relationship.
Well, yes, very special. And Mom, of course, had my brother and sister to care for. But I liked being with my grandmother.
What was life like living with your grandmother? Is she the lady that had a farm?
She and my grandfather had a farm on Meredith Neck.
Meredith Neck.
And that's where we spent the summer. Because they had a garden there and raised the beef and pork and chickens and things like that for the winter.
So the food that they raised was to eat, they didn't sell it to anyone?
No, never sold it.
It was for survival?
She canned a lot. Of course, she didn't have freezers at that time. Ice boxes, but she canned a lot.
Thank you, thank you. What would be the typical day for you? If we went back to when you were 5 or 6 years old, and you're living with your grandmother, what would a typical day be like?
A lot of fun. We get up together and have breakfast, and I dress myself. She'd try to help me, but I'll say, I'll do it. People say I still say that. And then she'd do the housework and cooking. I might talk to her a while. I learned a lot from my grandmother. She talked to me like I was a grown-up.
Oh.
And that was good. And my grandmother was half Indian. And we used to go out in the field and she would pick things that we could eat. Sometimes I asked her if she was sure, but she was.
She was. What kind of chores did you have?
I really didn't have any chores. I helped when I wanted to, anything I could. But she said I started too young being a housekeeper. Because I wanted things straightened up and in their place and things like that, you know. So I did. I could set the table, clear it up. I could wash dishes. Stood on a box, but I could wash dishes.
Stood on a box, I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about your time in school. You went to elementary school in Plymouth.
Yeah. And then when my grandmother passed away, I went to the bridge school in Holderness.
Can you describe for the audience where that was?
Yes, it's between the Baptist church and what used to be the post office.
Okay.
It's where the fire station was at one time before they built it across the road.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned to me that you enjoyed elementary school.
Yes.
Can you remember any of the subjects that you enjoyed?
Yes, I enjoyed music and art, and I was fairly good in geography and things like that. I kind of liked school anyways. The kids used to tell me I was crazy.
Because you enjoyed school?
Because I enjoyed school.
Oh. Do you remember any of the teachers that you might have had?
Well, there was a Mrs. Brown, and I'm sorry to say I can't remember too many of them because they were student teachers.
Student teachers.
And they would teach for a while, and then we'd have a new student teacher.
So they were probably coming from the Plymouth normal school?
The normal school, yes.
You never had any classes at the normal school?
At one time, the 3rd grade was in the building, the normal school.
Wow. Do you remember if it was on the first or the second?
First floor.
First floor.
Because we used to go to gym. We used to go through the tunnel that goes up the street and into the gym.
So you're at Rounds, and you'd be going under the tunnel to get to Mary Lyon, and the gymnasium was underneath.
No, the gymnasium wasn't underneath.
Okay,
The tunnel was underneath the street, and the gymnasium was on the left-hand side going up the street.
I think it's on the subfloor.
Well, you see, they have changed so much there since that I was there, because the first grade to the 8th grade was in the building on the right. It's still there. There's the building where I went to school, and then there's the high school.
So that you were in the model building, or what we now call Memorial.
Yes,
And that housed 1st grade through 8th grade.
that's right.
Because the elementary building hadn't been built yet. No, that comes a little bit later. Interesting.
Well, I don't know. All I know, it was a brick building, and it sit there, and beside it was the high school.
Yep, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice, thank you. What was the highest grade that you completed in school?
The highest grade.
Yeah, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade?
8th grade.
8th grade, 8th grade. And why didn't we go on to high school?
Because I was kind of put to work.
Kind of put to work.
But I chose to go to work at 16. There was a schoolhouse, and right beside the schoolhouse, up a little higher, there was the post office, and then the house the postmaster lived in. I went there as a nanny.
Oh.
Took care of 2 little girls. And I stayed there until I graduated. Then I went to work for my aunt and uncle, and they built the Boulder cabins.
And the Boulder cabins are located where? In Holderness?
Yes.
Yes.
As you go into Holderness, there's this huge boulder, and then there's all of these cabins behind it on the lake.
So they're on the right-hand side.
Yes, going into the village. I worked there. Then I went to babysit. Then I worked at Toby Motor Court for a while in the kitchen. Then I got married.
Let's talk about your marriage.
What about it?
You told me when we were chatting before it was a good marriage for you.
Yes, it was.
Even though there was some difference in age between your husband and you.
Yeah, a number of them.
How many years?
He was almost 13 years older.
13 years difference between the two of you. And
No, I won't say that.
we won't go there then. I know exactly what you're going to say. It's kind of a silly question, but your husband's been gone quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were some of the qualities that you enjoyed from your husband? What did you like about him?
Well, he was a very good person, and he was thoughtful and understanding most of the time. And he was a very hard worker, provided a good life.
What was his occupation, Thelma?
Well, at first he was a lumber. He bought lumber lots, or somebody would ask him to cut their lumber, and that's what he did for a long time. And then he went to work for Bachelor Tree Company.
Sure.
He ran the the boom. Fellas up in a tree.
So Bachelor Tree was on the main street of Plymouth. It was more toward the south end. Quite a large company. Quite a large company.
Yes, it was for quite a while.
That's great. That's great. Anything special about your husband that you want to share with the audience? Did you ever take any trips?
Trips? Oh, yes, we went out to visit my sister in Washington. Oh, I don't know how many times. And we'd take different routes. And when my daughter was married and moved to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, we used to go there once or twice a year.
When you say you went to the state of Washington, did you fly there? Did you drive there?
We
Drove.
We wanted to see something.
Just wanted to see the country.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
That's why we took different routes going out and coming back.
On those many trips, was there a stop that you enjoyed? Was there an attraction along the way that you said, wow, this is great?
Oh, yes, a number of them. We went through Yellowstone National Park. We went through, what's the one where the monuments are?
You mean the presidents?
Yeah.
The presidents, where are they located?
Mount Rushmore.
Thank you.
We were there. We went to Cody's National Park, and
Great.
we visited along the way.
Oh, that's great.
That's what the trip was for.
I would agree with you.
Sometimes, a couple of times we went, we go down and then cut into Canada and finish the trip to Washington
Oh, that's
that way.
wonderful. Wonderful. Thinking backwards, did you have a best friend when you were in elementary school?
Oh, yeah. She lived right across the road from me. They were just our dooryard separated us. Her name was Gertrude O'Donnell.
And why did you enjoy being with Gertrude?
Because she was a lot of fun.
That's a good enough answer.
And we got along very well.
So you went to school together, you played together?
We went to school together, and let's see, I was a grade ahead of her. But we went to school. And I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but her father was Catholic. And he tried so hard to get her to go to school, to go to church. The only way he could get her to go to church was once in a while he'd get me to go with her and help her with her catechism or something. But I don't know. She was married and moved away, and I only saw her once since then.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you stay in touch?
No,
No. Do you have friends now that you do things with, or are you pretty much limited?
I'm pretty much limited.
And that's because why? Are we talking about where you live, or
No,
you're not
it's
able
just
to get
that,
out?
It's just that most of the people I used to go places with and do things are either in nursing homes or they've passed away.
There you go.
Most all of my friends are gone. And my family is gone, except my sister and I. Most two sisters.
Well, when I look at you, you look absolutely wonderful for 94 years old.
Thank you.
Yes. Have you been healthy?
Yeah.
Would you share with the audience a little bit about your sight?
Well, there's not much to say except that I'm slowly going blind. I've lost most sight in this eye. And this one, when I look at you, all of you, it's like looking through a thick fog.
So you can see the outline of my body.
Yes. And I can see your white hair,
Shh.
or light-colored hair, whatever it is.
It was black many decades ago, but
Well, my hair used to be almost black. When I was born, I was called what you call a towhead. It's light brown, all curly.
and I've never heard that phrase before. Call you a towhead?
But towhead.
Towhead.
Why, I don't know. I never knew. I just know they said towhead.
Oh my goodness
But it was
gracious.
a shade of brown, light.
Okay. Your children you see quite often?
Well, yes and no. Betty is, like I said, is in Nova Scotia. She comes and visits once or twice a year, but that's a long trip. And my son lives in Thornton. He doesn't come to visit that often, but he calls me twice a month or so. And he does drop in now and then.
Good enough. If you have memories of Plymouth and the surrounding, this is a very open-ended question, memories of Plymouth or the surrounding towns, what would they be? Can you think of times that you remember about Plymouth?
Well,
Anything
yes,
special? Anything special that comes to mind?
Special.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of things went on in Plymouth. But when I was young, we were traveling in horse and buggies. And people look at me and like I'm crazy. But we were. And when my grandfather went to town, he had a horse and a cart to get his grain and things. There were a few cars, but they were people that had a little more money than other people did. But it was sometime before I remember a lot of cars. And it was a nice little town.
When you went to school, did you walk to school, take the bus to school, get a ride to school?
When I went to school, when I first started school, I walked 2 miles to school. The bus came probably as close as this here to the stop, and then they wouldn't pick me up because I lived 2 miles away. So I walked range. I didn't care. I loved it.
Did you have lunch at school, or did you
No.
come home?
I walked home for lunch.
Wow. Did you have a playground at the memorial school?
At school? Oh, yes, we had a playground.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. We had swings. And a friend and I were swinging, see who could go the highest. And I went up and went right off over like this and came down.
I don't mean to laugh, but I am. I'm sorry.
It was funny. Only when the swing just stopped, it was kind of jar
Oh my goodness
on your
gracious.
spine, but I didn't think anybody could swing that high. And I was just lucky because lucky when I went over, the chain didn't buckle. They didn't, they stayed right after. And then, of course, some of the boys tried to do it, and they didn't make out too good. And that didn't set very good either. She did it, and why can't we do it? I said it was an accident. I wasn't doing it on purpose. I never would have done that knowingly that I was going to do it.
There's an advertisement on TV right now, and there's a group of 3 or 4 boys, and there's a large puddle of water, and they're stopping. And all of a sudden, the sister goes straight through, and I thought, you go, girl. Couldn't help it. You go, girl. That's like your story. It's great.
That was quite a thing. If there was a puddle anywhere around, if the girls walked by, the boys always stomped in the puddle.
If you and I were walking through the town of Plymouth right now, and we went back 50, 60 years together, what would we see? I'm, again, putting you on the spot. Is there a store that you can remember that you would go in?
Oh,
a restaurant
yeah.
that you might have seen that is still with us or may no longer be with us?
Well, I don't know. Volpe's store was my stop.
And why so?
Well, we used to get 15 cents allowance. 10 cents went for the movies, nothing else. But the 5 cents, we'd go to Volpe's and I'd buy fruit. Like an apple or something. You could get an apple or banana or anything for 5 cents. And after I had been gone, and for a few times, I found out Mr. Volpe was being very nice because he picked out my apple or my peach or pear for me, and he always gave me a big one.
That's a great story. Let's continue to walk down the other, and we're going south, I think. Are there restaurants there that you ever had a chance to go into and had a meal and you can just remember what you ate?
When I was small,
Small.
no, I never was in restaurants very much when I was small.
All right.
When I got older, we used to go to Fausti's Diner. It was by the theater. Everybody come out of Fausti. Well, no, not everybody. But a lot of us came out of there and went into the diner to have coffee and pie. Because she made the best pies.
And when you say she, who would she be? Can you remember?
Well, it was they were Tony. He was the father, wasn't he? Yeah. And his wife. She made all the pies. And boy, were they good.
I can just remember Mrs. Chamberlain's donuts.
Yeah.
My era,
Oh,
we
yeah.
would go up there, and I think it was on a Sunday, and Mrs. Chamberlain would bring in the donuts, and they were amazingly good.
Yeah.
Amazingly good. Fun.
I remember
Fun.
having her donuts. They were good. Yeah. I remember my grandmother's donuts too.
Specially made for you?
Yep.
Oh,
She
okay.
used to make me fried pies.
Fried pies.
Their dough, like a donut.
Oh,
Only you flatten them out and they're round like this. And she put one down and put applesauce, warm applesauce on it.
so this is like fried dough that I could pick up perhaps at the fair, flat?
Yeah,
And
things
then,
like that.
and then she put applesauce on
Yeah,
it.
warm applesauce.
Wow.
Then she'd make another one, put on top of that, and put applesauce on top of that. That was yummy.
It sounds great. It does sound great.
Yeah. I didn't realize though, when I was young, she'd say, "What would you like today?" And I would just apt to say, you know, the fried dough, fritters we call them. I don't know what they really were. And she'd make them. I didn't realize the work it was until I grew up. She'd have to heat the fat and make the dough and fry it and everything. She always did.
She loved you.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And I loved her too.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
She's the one that, when I was very small, got me interested in the Bible, and we used to sing hymns together.
Did you read phrases from the Bible together, passages from the Bible
I
together?
used to read them to her. My grandmother used to sew baseballs at home, sew the covers on them. So while she was working doing that, I'd read the Bible to her.
So she was part of the community that worked with Draper and Maynard in Plymouth? If she was sewing,
She sewed the covers on the baseballs, but they did it at home.
and they did it at home.
There was a lot of people that sewed women that sewed baseballs at home.
There was a very large cottage industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that there's something like 600, 700, 800 people that did that throughout New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. We have a really interesting object in front of us, and I'm hoping that you might tell me a little bit about it here.
My coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like I said, my husband cut a huge tree, and that was a slice, I call it a slice, I don't know what he would have called it, out of the logs that from the tree. He kept one, and there was 3 that he gave to his crew. And I don't know what they did with this, but he was thinking, and he'd say to me, "What am I going to do with it?" I said, "I don't know. Why did you cut it off and bring it home? You have, some idea." He said, "Well, I thought I'd make a little table out of it." And I go, "Nah." So he put it away. Then one day he went into the storage area and he saw the stove. So he sat there and he said, I was looking at that all at once. I said, "That's what I'll use." So that's how the two came together.
So the bottom part is the stove, and this is part of the tree that he cut down.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. It's beautiful. It's incredibly beautiful. Innovative.
It's heavy too.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. If there was a word or two that would describe your husband, what might it be?
If what?
A word or two that would describe your husband. What might it be?
A great guy.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's great. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, I can't think of anything.
So I have one more question I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
If you had a group of young adults sitting in front of you right now, young children, 15 years old, 10 years old, what advice might you give them? You've been on this earth for many decades. You look great. You're healthy. What might you share with them?
I don't know. I would tell them that to just grow up to be good people. Do things to help others and learn, because learning is something you really need to do. And I don't know. And sometimes children don't want your advice.
I think you do know. I think what you just shared will resonate with a lot of people. No. I've enjoyed our short time together. I'm going to thank you very much.
Thank
I'm
you.
putting my hand out for you. I'll speak to the audience just for a minute. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again for the Memories of Plymouth, our second season. And we want to say thanks especially to Thelma Downing for allowing us to come into your household today and chat with you and probe into your background, which was very, very fun. I believe your audience will say the same thing.
I hope so.
So keep taking the pictures, please. Save the pictures in different mediums if you can. That's part of our history that we want. And I think my last words, see you next time.